Story 1. Mostly it's the habit, caffeine, and the crushing weight of responsibility. They are not always energized. They just keep moving because they have to. Story 2. Energy? I'm fueled by caffeine, my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder medication, or lack thereof, depending on what I need to do, and unadulterated, unabashed winchiness. There are several people in this world whom I fully intend to outlive out of sheer spite. In particular, my ex-spouse seems to think that because our shared children will someday inherit my family land, it gives him access to the properties again if I predecease him. No, sir, I will live to attend your funeral, and I may or may not slap your cold, pale corpse while it lies in repose just to make sure you aren't lying about dying too. Until then, you can keep your grubby little feet on your own land and stay off of any that is under my name. But that's not my main motivation. I have land to deal with, a spouse, a full-time job, household responsibilities, hobbies, a social life, and other things. Those things exist, even if I am sick, exhausted, overbooked, or overwhelmed. I can't afford to take time off to be lazy. Life needs to be lived. As I once told a friend, I will rest when my heart stops. The dream of my parents' and grandparents' generation was to live long enough to retire, then spend the golden years in leisure while the body gradually deteriorates, financed by a combination of stipend, pension, investments, and social security payments. I won't have those luxuries, and since the aging process accelerates when we stop moving, I simply won't stop moving. I may have to force myself to do it some days, but do it I must. And I will. Story 3. I am constantly tired. My perspective is that we have one life, so I am not going to waste it and later regret it on my deathbed. Story 4. Necessity is the mother of just getting it done. Professional tips. Keep avoiding COVID-19, influenza, respiratory syncytial virus, and others. Give up television. Get some daily exercise. Story 5. There is no magic pill or secret. It is all the things you already know. Consistent, regular exercise. Eating for health and sustenance rather than pleasure. Proper, deep, restorative sleep at the same time each night. A lifestyle of mental and intellectual stimulation. All of these contribute to living in a way that is ideal for both children and adults and create a much healthier family than if they were not practiced. Lack of time is not the challenge. Lack of will to live this way is. Story 6. I did not have any. I was effectively a working zombie. I had just enough energy to get through the workday for 37 years. Now I am 65, retired at 59, and I have energy to burn. I am at the gym almost every day. I retired just in time to not be dead now. Story 7. Some people hit 40 and start what I call the long defeat. They act like their bodies are broken or that they have earned some magic leisure. Use it or lose it. You would be shocked at what having a positive attitude does for you. Story 8. From the realization that the time left for doing anything is rapidly running out, if we do not do it now, we may never have another opportunity. This is brought even more sharply into focus when we look back on the years spent putting things off until tomorrow, next week, next year, and so on, for no reason other than not feeling like it today. Story 9. Sleeping a proper amount, eating healthy, and exercising are essential. I know it is not the answer everyone wants to hear, but that is it. Story 10. I see so many people in their 40s to 50s beaming with energy while I feel as if my batteries are constantly at a critical low status. How do they manage a full-time job, family, and hobbies while maintaining this energy? Are they all using some kind of stimulant? Story 11. Lifestyle is all about overall well-being and the advantage of not having any chronic illnesses or pain. I take care of my body and what I consume. I sleep deeply and take care of my emotional and spiritual health. I am currently pregnant with my third child at 41 and I feel amazing. Much can be attributed to luck and genetics, but it is mostly the choices you make. It is never too late to make positive changes. My husband is a wonderful person, and my children are healthy, so I do not experience the mental stress of dealing with an unhappy relationship or medically complicated children. Story 12. It is my responsibility. My family depends on me to keep things going. I would love to just sit down and play video games, But if I do not do what needs to get done, it will not get done. Story 13. You draw a lot of strength from hope for your family. Taking care of my children, giving them a chance at a better life kept me going through many long days and nights. Story 14. Full-time working, studying, family man in his 40s, and hitting the gym regularly too. My secret is bed by 9:30 p.m., wake up at 4:30 a.m., fasting for 16 hours daily, eating only 2 meals a day, all home-cooked, with no caffeine except green tea. I work between 5 to 7 days a week. Some weeks I work part-time elsewhere too. I go for regular walks with my family, as that is also family time, talking and walking. Story 15. Energy? Sleep? No, those are things of the past. You just go, do what you have to do, and hope for the best. Take it one day at a time. Story 16. Woke up at 5, drank a cup of coffee, and took a nap. Later today I will take another nap. Story 17. It is somewhat an illusion. We are from the "why are you crying" generation, meaning we ignore our pain and just get on with life. It is easy because we have been doing it since we were 4 years old. Needs must, so we do. Story 18. What energy? I'm a half-dead walking ATM for a room full of people who are screaming at me one minute and telling me how much they love me the next. All jokes aside, the best thing you can do at this age is to have discipline. Eat well, exercise, get plenty of sleep, don't drink too much or at all, and don't smoke. I don't have the same energy as when I was 21. My body doesn't recover as well from a heavy workout, but I can still do all the things I love. You get out what you put in. I'm much more deliberate about my time and efforts these days. I still have the beginning of aches and pains, but it's manageable, and there are benefits to being in this season of life as well. More financially secure, less anxiety overall, and so on. I feel like I have about 75% of the motor I used to have, 50% of the athleticism, but 100% more calm and self-awareness. That's a fair trade-off. Embrace the slow life and soak up the good times while you're in them. Being appreciative of each decade has given me a lot more peace than I had in my younger years. Story 19. I will be 70 this year, and I am working a full-time job. The energy comes from being excited about what you do. Story 20. We have 2 school-age children, a business, and an elderly family member requiring 24/7 care. Who else is going to do it? Nobody, because nobody is coming to save you. That is life. Get on with it and get it done. Repeat as necessary. Story 21. No carbohydrates. I still have my cappuccino, but I do not eat bread or pasta. Sometimes I eat rice. Potatoes are acceptable. Story 22. Honestly, just keep moving and avoid sitting down until the end of the day. Inertia gets tougher to overcome with age. Story 23. I am in my early 40s, work about 60 hours a week, have a family, and maintain a couple of hobbies. You are responsible for your own outlook on life. People with no internal purpose are lethargic and constantly tired. Those of us with high energy and optimism have things to live for and wake up to. Without that, you are just going through the motions and waiting to die. Story 24. Good diet, good hydration, good sleep when it comes, a desire to be a good partner, good father, good employee, and interest in maintaining my physical, mental, and financial health. Story 25. I detest coffee. I hate it. I rarely drink caffeine. I just had to do a colonoscopy and dermatologist visit. All clear, thank God. I have 2 biological children, 1 adopted, 2 semi-adopted, and 4 grandchildren. I have been married for over 30 years. I am barely in my early 50s. I grew up in an era of rampant irresponsible parenting, learning how to survive on my own, and was forced to take care of myself at a very early age. I was on my own at 16. My energy comes from the fact that I do not know any other way than moving forward. Problems are speed bumps, but I am still going to sleep and, God willing, I will wake up tomorrow and time continues to move forward. Some days I have more energy than others, but as long as I am breathing, I am present and have things to do. So I do them. Story 26. Pure, uncut anxiety. Nothing gets the blood flowing like the constant feeling that you are forgetting the most important thing you are supposed to do that day. Story 27. The No Choice Store. What else can I do? D. I just have to get going and make pancakes even though I feel like collapsing from lack of sleep. Story 28. You just put one foot in front of the other. This makes me think of people who have affairs and how I always wonder how they have the energy for that. Story 29. No drugs, very little caffeine. Forming good habits is key, and if that is not enough, there is nothing wrong with proper medication. 1 hour of exercise a day with a day off every week, a decent amount of sleep, a job that does not actively harm you, and any underlying medical issues addressed. Taking some personal time helps a lot. Relationships need some work, such as date nights if you are into that. Intimacy, honesty, and mutual respect help keep everything in order. Actually being together, rather than just coexisting in the same household, can help release inevitable stress. It does get a lot easier when burdensome people move away. As many have said, it is about habits and fear of stopping. Story 30. Eating well, prioritizing rest, and exercising go a long way for your energy and mental well-being. Story 31. Realizing that work is a requirement for most people to live. If you have a family, that requirement is a given. I value them and you do what it takes. Story 32. A lot of it is determination. I will not be a lazy old man. I will not be a person on welfare. When I get tired doing chin-ups in the basement, I think of the frustrating coworker I dislike and tell myself that he cannot do this. Then I do a few more. Story 33. Mid-40s mom here who also works a stressful full-time job. I don't think I have much energy, and I'm ready for bed at 9. I try to do all the right things. Exercise daily and eat well, but I'm still very tired. I just push through because no one else is going to live my life for me. Once I sit down in the evening, I have a hard time getting back up. Story 34. I'm 50 and had the same question when I was in my 40s. I asked my wife before the journey, and she was willing to see me get in shape and be happier. She was willing to watch the kids. I usually went at bedtime or after, so I wouldn't miss much. My kids were older. Figure out what works for you. I hired a personal trainer and started going to the gym 5 days a week. I started to eat right. The more I saw change, the more I ate better. My body had huge energy reserves and could do more. A couple of takeaways. Go to a gym that isn't overcrowded. You will probably have to pay more. I did a full body workout in about 30 to 40 minutes. Just get in and get out. It wasn't weak either. Too many people go in and take forever. Lose the caffeine slowly and all the other things that mess with mood or energy levels. They will pull you down. Talk about what you're doing with your kids. They will cheer you on. My 2 oldest daughters now go to the gym. Story 35. Sleep 8 to 9 hours each night, eat clean, maintain a normal weight range, and have exercised regularly since I was 18. Story 36. Once you have a family, what is the alternative? You have to support your family financially and emotionally. The financial part means you need to have a full-time job. They do not have any more energy than you do. They just do it anyway. Story 37. Speaking personally, sex and bicycles. We are 55 years old and serious amateur cyclists with a very active sex life. Story 38. Part of the secret is to ruthlessly trim away all unnecessary work, leaving most of your energy for the important tasks. If you can afford it, pay for services that you might otherwise perform yourself. One of the great things about getting older is that you can generally prioritize better. If you have skills, your control of them is the best it will ever be. In summary, work smarter, not harder. Story 39. A gym routine really is the key. If you can go in the morning, you feel energetic during the day and fall asleep at a good time in the evening, sleeping deeper. Add proper food and water to that, and that is it. Like seriously, that is it. Then again, I should start doing it again. I had some injuries early this year and had to stop for a while. That while has lasted way too long, but it is always difficult to get back into it. Story 40. Where do people in their 40s and 50s with full-time jobs and families get their energy from? You just do what needs to be done because it needs to be done. Story 41. They parasitically siphon it off from their future selves. That is why they are always tired 30 years later. Really, it is a fact. The government does not want you to know because they have figured it out. That is why Donald Trump is still alive. Story 42. I am almost 50 years old. My wife and I both work full-time. You do not actually need energy, you need motivation. If you can force yourself to make the decision to do the things you need and want to do, then you can do it. Story 43. Honestly, my husband and I take turns being the energetic one. Some days, I handle the morning chaos while he moves slowly. Other days, he takes charge when I am running on empty. Story 44. Build healthy habits. Convert the energy you use to watch television into the energy to go for a walk. The same applies to your diet. Story 45. Lucille Ball said, "If you want to get something done, ask a busy person to do it. The more you do, the more you can do." Story 46. Addicted to energy drinks to stay awake and consuming a lot of alcohol to numb the pain, nobody has time to go to the doctors, and if by chance we do, we cannot afford the co-payments. Story 47. As my significant other puts it, activity creates energy. I have been enjoying what I am doing, and my family helps me recharge my batteries. Story 48. Younger people have strength but lack self-discipline. Older people have self-discipline, if not strength. Story 49. I'm not there yet, in my late 30s. There are many factors, but it seems that you don't become the person you describe unless you just do things. You don't have energy now, and you won't have it later either. It's discipline, not motivation. A few decades of that and you collect experiences where, 1. Things you thought would be fun actually sucked, often because of someone throwing a tantrum or factors beyond your control. Difficult and unexpected situations can be made enjoyable with the right attitude. I think this really reduces the resistance to doing things. Maybe it will suck, maybe it won't, but it will be done. Mix this with a decent attitude and the middle-aged realization that you don't have much time left to do many things, and keep on going becomes a default state. Also, diet and exercise help. For goodness sake, take care of your body. Story 50. I am 53 and still have a 13-year-old. I have a full-time job working from home, which helps. I work out almost daily, and I think that helps. I get up at 4 a.m. to get everything done. I am in bed by 9 p.m. I do not spend much time watching television. When I do, it is at the end of the day and I generally fall asleep on the couch. I am usually highly caffeinated, but I think my tolerance is so high it does not do much. Someday it will get better. Story 51. I have more energy and stamina now, maybe because I eat better and drink less. I want to enjoy the second half of my life, so I exercise and appreciate every moment. Story 52. You move time out of the leisure column and put it into the must-be-done column. During this time, you will only watch the first 20 minutes of any movie or television show before sleeping. Story 53. Morning caffeine is a must. I brew my own green tea kombucha, which gives me an extra energy boost. Kid energy combined with no community support for raising them and no independent opportunities to leave the house makes society truly exhausting. No industrialized nation or generation has raised children like we are in the United States. The burden is much worse than it should be. Story 54. 1. Move to Europe. Work in a country with healthcare and worker protections. Stop bad habits from the United States and get decent sleep. Profit. Story 55. It would be great, but that medication has significant side effects. So right now it is Adderall and coffee. Open to suggestions. Story 56. Having some time for yourself to do the things you enjoy is important. Also, having a job you like will give you energy instead of draining it. Story 57. From my experience, we do not. Sometimes I use all my energy at work, then go to bed early when I get home after the basic chores and bathing are done. I used to be a very energetic person, but in my mid-40s, things are changing. I took my youngest to a playground and park yesterday. I negotiated a monkey bar apparatus but with less speed and grace than I could have when I was younger. I am in a fairly active career as well, but that does not stop my joints from aging. Story 58. There is no other option, you just make do. I say this as someone who has cancer and is always very anemic and needs iron infusions often. Weekend naps are wonderful, though. Story 59. For some of us, it is a lack of stress. Once you have some financial security, you worry much less about day-to-day matters. So you get bored and want to do something, and you have the resources to do it. Story 60. Plenty of time to rest when you are dead. You are running out of time, my friend. Get busy living or get busy dying. Story 61. I do not know. I just started back full-time in the office, and I spent the first couple of weeks coming home and resting. Having a day off feels like full-on luxury. Story 62. I go to bed early-ish, try to get up at the same time every day, watch my caffeine intake carefully, and avoid sugar. Stuff like that. Story 63. I am in my early 50s with 2 teenagers and have plenty of energy. I think it might just be genetic, not necessarily anything I am doing right. I do try to get exercise and not eat too much unhealthy food. I do not feel that much different than I did in my 30s in terms of energy. The big difference is I used to never forget anything, and now I do, which is aggravating. Story 64. Coffee, and really, you do what needs to be done because you are an adult. Sometimes things slide or get done half-heartedly because you are exhausted. If you are fortunate, you can hire a landscaper or house cleaners to take some of the load off. Story 65. My energy peaked at 35. I do not drink any caffeine. The only thing I can do is keep pushing on and drink a lot of water. I love to be outside and work in my garden, but the heat drains all my energy. I end up having to either sit where I am or go inside for a few hours to recover. Naps are not an option because I will be up all night if I take one. Story 66. I do nothing else but get a cup of coffee, work, have a quick lunch, go home, and do chores. Sometimes I exercise. When I have free time, I am so exhausted that I do mind-numbing activities like playing solitaire on my phone. I have barely any social activities. No one wants to be with a person who just stares into the void while looking forward to bedtime. Story 67. I think it is a combination of the following factors. 1. Learning how to avoid procrastinating on intense tasks that require high energy or are stressful. Stress from not feeling ready for impending retirement. Other forms of stress such as mortgage, bills, and health issues. Having developed internal credibility from earlier years within the same company. Story 68. If you stop, you die, my retired neighbor, who is always on the go, said. Curtis, brother, you are going to live forever. Story 69. Do not have children if you want to keep a small amount of energy. Even then, it is hard. Exercise, eat healthily, and drink coffee. Story 70. Good habits after probably half a lifetime of discovering what happens when you neglect sleep, maintain a poor diet, avoid exercise, and associate with negative influences. Story 71. Making sure that I get some kind of exercise most days makes me feel good and gives me energy. I go to bed at about the same time most nights. I try to eat healthily. I don't smoke and almost never drink alcohol. I have never liked drinking. I am 48, and I do not feel like my energy is much different than in my 20s and 30s. I have a job and kids. I am lucky to not have any major medical problems so far. Story 72. They may look fine, but check their vital signs. Most are on the verge of death due to stress, excessive sugar, and caffeine consumption. Story 73. Watching a friend have a new baby in his mid-50s. I thought I just couldn't. You already have 2 children, and your partner has 1, all aged 9 to 13, and now you want another? You will be 70 by the time that child grows up. He did quite a full-time job after a couple of months of sleepless nights. Story 74. I am Generation X, and I think this age category fits your question. I read that Generation X is not talked about because if there is a problem, we will figure it out. Overall, we get things done. Story 75. For me, it is intentional. I agree with the concept of just keep moving, but I also go to bed earlier, rarely drink alcohol, and get up early to stretch every morning. A few tweaks and being more intentional about things help. Story 76. What is this energy you speak of? I have heard it used often. I even recall that I had some of it before. Story 77. I do not have any energy at all. I am chronically tired and depressed, and my recurring thought is, I want to die. However, we need to eat, so I force myself. Story 78. Counterpoint. Why are teenagers and young adults so lazy? I was that way too, and I also do not understand what my issue was. I think our parents babied us too much. Story 79. I am 55 and work with special education kindergartners. Every morning before I go to work, I drink a fruit smoothie and add protein powder. It helps me get through most of the day. Story 80. People make this sound so horrible. I am 43. I kind of like my job, I like my child, and I enjoy my wife. I have my side hobbies and exercise. So, do I still have energy and enjoy things? Story 81. When something does not work, I start making changes. An example would be gaining weight and spending a lot of money and time on food planning, buying, prepping, cooking, serving, storing, and cleaning. So I set a goal to lose weight, and our meals were simplified to keep track of calories easily. If anyone expects more, they have to do it. Now there is more money, time, patience, and confidence. Story 82. If you want to get something done, ask a busy person to do it. I get more done while working, not counting work, than I do now in retirement. Story 83. Late 40s with 2 kids. A few things. 1. You stop caring about useless stuff. I check Facebook once every quarter. I don't have an Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, or anything like that. It saves so much time and effort. 2. I am sure of myself. I'm not trying to impress anyone but me. I buy the same t-shirt and jeans. I just do what I like. When I was younger, I wasn't sure of myself and tried a lot of things to figure myself out. 3. People grow and learn. With 25 years of work experience, I generally need less energy to do my job since I have experience and know-how. I've proven myself time and time again. I'm not scared of messing up. And if I do, I have a track record that shows it's an anomaly. For money solves a lot of problems. As you get older, you have more of it. I can afford eating out any day. I can afford a repairman or handyman, and I can afford a reliable car. 5. Kids give you energy. They are fun and motivate you. 6. Getting intimate with your wife is easy. When single, trying to get laid by a hot woman took a lot of effort, time, and energy. Now, I have a woman who is way hotter than I deserve, and she's willing because I ask nicely. Story 84. Stimulants are abundant. You nap off the crash, then take more. Somewhere in your 50s, you have a heart attack and die happy. Story 85. My extracurricular activities really give me meaning. Accomplishing something I wanted to do is my main motivator. Story 86. Just about the same place where I get my energy from. I cannot just fall over and die with the power of thought alone. If I stop and do nothing, life just gets worse. So we move on, earn that money, and get through the day. Story 87. What makes you think we have a choice about it? I do not want to sit in my own filth, and I enjoy heat and food. It is a battle. Story 88. My parents are almost 70 and still work full-time. It is actually very hard to see. My mother was not even supposed to be walking anymore, but she is the toughest woman I know. Due to extenuating circumstances, they had to adopt my young niece and nephew. I help as much as I can, but I know it is not easy. Story 89. I do not want my children to be homeless. I dislike every aspect of my job, but I want my children to have a better life than I did. Story 90. I am 49 and work full-time in technology, attend my child's activities, work out, keep up with chores, and enjoy my hobbies. Energy is not the problem. Having enough hours in the day to get everything done is more of an issue. I feel the same energy-wise as I did at any other point in my younger years. Now, I do admit that there are definitely more aches and pains as I get older. Kicking the soccer ball around with my child, I feel it the next day. Mowing the yard when it is 100 degrees, I feel it. But that is not an energy problem. That is a body getting older problem. Even working out does not slow that down. Story 91. We are not wasting our time and energy thinking about who we are, what we feel, what we can still eat, what trend we want to follow, or what words we can still use each day. Story 92. I have to keep in shape. Even with a dad bod, I have to run every morning, and that keeps me in good enough shape to get through the day. Caffeine helps. My children are getting older and they help more too. They can take out the garbage, mow the lawn, and do many other chores. We try to frame it like, if you help out, we have more money and time to do fun things. Which is true. If I am upset about working all day and then also doing all the housework, we don't do anything fun. My wife stays home and also contributes a lot with housework and scheduling the children's activities. I also get energized when the kids want to do things with me, want to play games inside, or kick around a soccer ball. Like when I was little, the more of those things I do, the more energy I have later. The body is highly adaptive. Does it take longer to recover? Sure. Is it worth staying in decent shape? Absolutely. Keep pushing. It gets easier. Your children will remember that extra effort. Story 93. It starts early. I have had many chores and responsibilities since I was a child. Also, managing expectations is important. You cannot do everything. These television shows make it seem like you are missing out if your child is not involved in 5 different activities, and that you should be doing Pilates every day, socializing by someone's pool, and taking multiple vacations each year. That is not reality. Enjoy dinner with your family. Let children do the dishes, mow the grass, and clean their own rooms. Have an occasional cookout. Keep it simple. Story 94. I do not know, but whoever invents something stronger than caffeine but weaker than cocaine will be a billionaire from patents alone. Story 95. 50s here. Special needs teenager. She is pretty capable, but I still worry every day. I manage everything because I have a wife who does more than her fair share. We both work full-time but are fortunate to have fairly flexible work schedules. We are very fortunate. I feel deeply for single or broke parents with special needs children or people who have children with severe disabilities. My worries are insignificant compared to theirs. Story 96. The most important priorities are sleep, water, nutrition, and physical fitness. No televisions in the bedroom. Talk to your primary care provider about hormone level testing and therapy. Also, caffeine combined with a strong and natural need to take care of my loved ones. Story 97. Over 50 years old. My motivation every day is to work for the future of my family. I stay as healthy as possible so I can continue to work until retirement and also enjoy retirement without too much pain for as long as I can. It is sad but true. Trust me, getting up at 6 a.m. 5 days a week, working until 5 p.m., driving home, having dinner, doing chores, helping with homework, watching TV or playing video games, spending time with my wife, sleeping and repeating. I try to work out and run for 30 to 40 minutes during lunch, which reduces my eating time to about 15 minutes. This is life. Story 98. I am 35 years old with no children, but I have a full-time job and I am tired all the time. I do not know how people add children to the mix. Story 99. Establish good habits. It is never too late. Avoid alcohol. Exercise every day. Think positively and be kind. Excuses sound best to those who use them. You would be surprised how effective this is. Story 100. Sure, so we evolve and become stronger people. After even 2 years of parenting, we know how to eat our meal and comfort a baby. We've perfected a 6-minute shower. Then they get much older and we go back to a good shower. That's when you start to see the mom glow up. Mom is able to go to the gym or go to lunch with her best friend forever. We've changed to figure out how to meet the needs of everyone. The mountain doesn't get less steep. Our legs are stronger and we are more capable. We've created extra built-in help. Right now, my pool bag gets repacked from the dryer. Then everything is there. I'm about to go pack snacks into containers so they are grab and go. I've been a mom since I was 26 years old. Now my kids go to school, sleep long into the morning, and want to be left alone as older tweens and teens do. I just slept till 8 a.m. on a Sunday. So my head is nice and clear, and I'll go get a whole bunch done today. Story 101. I work part-time, mostly 30 to 40 hours a week, and I am a full-time dad at home. My significant other works long hours. I do 90% of the household chores, pick up the kids, and make lunches. I spend most of my time with my children. I want to see success in my life. My child is a reflection of my wife and me. If they are struggling with drugs, then I am affected as well. No one blames the child. They blame the parent. That weighs heavily on my soul, more than the energy needed for day-to-day life. So I push forward with a cup of coffee. Story 102. Mostly routine and pressure management. They do not have time to overthink it, so they just go. It is like momentum carries them because bills and kids do not wait. Caffeine helps, sure, but a lot of it is just that life forces structure. And when you have people depending on you, you kind of learn how to run tired. Story 103. My attention deficit hyperactivity disorder medication, coffee, and a mid-afternoon nap at the office, and even then, I barely make it through the day. Story 104. Balance is key. Take care of business, but make sure you are taking care of yourself too. For me, that means eating healthy, getting exercise, going to therapy, taking my anxiety medication so I can sleep consistently, and setting aside time to do personal activities like playing my PlayStation 5. You have to divide your limited time among all these things, but it is far better than not doing them at all. Maybe I can only hit the gym twice a week. Maybe I can only talk to my therapist once a month. Maybe I only get through one game or show per month, but I am doing it. As others have said, your love for your children and the parental drive to take care of them provide much of the mental energy that fuels your physical energy. Spending time with my children is not a chore. It is enjoyable and fulfilling. We are not old, we are middle-aged, and that is a significant difference, a distinct life phase. As long as you stay active, being 45, in my experience, does not feel much different than being 35. I am starting to visibly age, wrinkles, gray hairs, and so on, but I still feel vibrant and healthy overall. Personally, I have plenty of energy and strength. Right now, I could easily run 3 miles at a reasonable pace for my age and be just fine. I would be sore for a couple of days afterward, but that is about it, and even that goes away if you run consistently and condition your muscles. Remember, athletes like Tom Brady and Nolan Ryan were still elite in their mid-40s. If they can do that, then normal people can definitely handle laundry and weekly grocery store runs without needing an oxygen tank. So it is not bad at all. You just have to avoid being an alcoholic couch potato. As with all phases of life, your health is up to you and your lifestyle. Story 105. We don't. We just go through the day half asleep and hope no one notices. At least that's my case. Story 106. Morning coffee and getting to bed at a decent hour. I would love 8 hours of sleep, but 7 also works. 6 is the minimum, though. Story 107. The food they eat is metabolized into glycogen in the bloodstream, and the surplus becomes adipose tissue. Story 108. Family does not burn energy. It brings happiness. That happiness fuels your energy. That and the gym. Story 109. Responsibility. We do not have energy. We just get things done because that is what parents do. There is no luxury to be lazy. We have lives to answer for beyond our own. Story 110. Currently lying on the floor of the playroom, having woken from an unintended 2-hour nap after taking my children out to a festival earlier today. I do not feel like I have a lot of energy. Story 111. We get energy for family from the fact that we have a family. Jesus, are you Generation Z individuals so detached from reality that you find no joy in being around your own people? Story 112. Lost my enthusiasm for work around age 51. Became tired of proving myself in the workplace and felt unappreciated. Story 113. Things are not going to happen if you do not do them. So regardless of how tired you are or whether your partner is available to help, sometimes things just have to get done. Story 114. Depends on how you define a full-time job. I work from home, and that has made all the difference. No more hours spent commuting, getting ready for work, and buying lunch. Plenty of time for workouts, walks with the dog, home-cooked meals, and, most importantly, slow mornings. It does wonders for energy levels and mental health. Story 115. Exercising 5 times a week to be an athlete and eating a healthy diet goes a long way. Exercising 3 times a week and then walking 10,000 steps per day is also great. Story 116. If you don't stop moving, you keep going. That's kind of my approach until my body says no, and I rest for a couple of days. Also helpful are coffee and tea, sunshine, some exercise, making sure I get enough sleep, and if my body says stop, I rest. Story 117. I assume this is a younger person asking and will try to explain accordingly. You know how you procrastinate on studying for an exam and then on the final night you cram for the test and somehow manage to pass? That is how I go through life, not always passing, but that constant anxiety is better than coffee at making me do things. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, so maybe this is not the same for everyone, but I doubt it is that far off. When you add children into the mix, you pretty much throw pride and modesty out the window, which makes doing things that would otherwise be embarrassing totally doable. Story 118. I am 54 years old and fall asleep in my chair every evening between 8:30 and 10 o'clock. My energy level is very low. This has been mostly since I was 50 or 51 years old. Story 119. I agree with other responses about loving your family. Something more hopeful that I also do is find things I am passionate about in everyday life. It gives me things to look forward to and be excited about in my routine. Story 120. Energy. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other because there is no real alternative. Just keep swimming. Story 121. Retired now, looking back thinking what a waste of time for my career, but it had to happen to have a good family life. Story 122. The desire to keep the need-to-do list as short as possible exists because you may have time to complete tasks now, but not tomorrow or ever again. Your time is not solely yours. It belongs to others. The need-to-do list is always growing, and deferring tasks for too long has consequences. Story 123. I am in my 40s and feel like I can barely function with all the demands of modern life without children. I do not know how parents manage it. Story 124. Supplements: Thorn Resversal, Nature's Plus Colloidal Protein, Garden of Life Supergreens, and others. I was running low on energy even though I exercise and eat well. The supplements gave me a new lease on life. Story 125. Just gotta keep moving. I'm 45, have a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and a nearly 2-year-old. My Christmas present to myself was a vasectomy. I'm currently at work on a 10-hour shift after 4 hours of sleep last night because the baby wakes up when it starts getting bright, no matter how many curtains or blackout blinds you put up. I've had 3 coffees, too much junk food, and an energy drink to keep going. But I will be home for bedtime and stories before crashing out myself. Story 126. I compare family to candles under your butt that burn and prevent you from sitting still. When you are over 40, have a job and a family, you do not rely on willpower. You create repetitive routines and automate your day. Also, adequate sleep, caffeine, and getting rid of unnecessary things. Energy is not only physical strength, it is also clarity of mind. Story 127. As a single mother of 3 with no help whatsoever, I do a lot of planning on the weekends for the upcoming week, and I try to stick to a routine sleep schedule. Not getting enough sleep makes everything 10 times harder, in my opinion. Story 128. I take multivitamins daily. I notice when I forget because I get tired. As we age, our bodies stop rejuvenating daily, and we need to make up for it by eating healthy, taking vitamins, and exercising. Story 129. You get used to it. Also, not drinking alcohol and maintaining a healthy diet with some exercise does wonders. I do not know how people with alcoholism or obesity manage. That is probably why they mostly die by age 50. Story 130. The heavy burden of responsibilities and the desire to retire. Nobody wants to work, but we do it so our families can have nice things and I can hopefully retire someday. Story 131. You need a strong bias toward action. Need to do laundry, change the diaper, buy groceries? Do not hesitate or even think about it for a second. Just do it immediately. Story 132. My grandmother is 67 years old and walks with a rollator. She works in our family restaurant. She does not have to work, but she just hates being at home. Story 133. Coffee is harmful. People think they are waking up with it, but really they are just triggering adrenaline until they suffer adrenal exhaustion. Story 134. I asked myself that same question, and I think a lot of it has to do with things becoming a routine. Do I want to mow the lawn and clean the house on a weekend day? No, but I also get this weird guilt that grows if I don't do anything about it. It feels like tomorrow's me will suffer if today's me doesn't do something about whatever has to be done. Story 135. I feel more competent, confident, and capable of making good decisions than I did in my 20s or 30s. I don't have as much energy, but I have organized my life so I don't need as much. Routine and effective habits for regular chores help out. Our kids were raised to help with basics like laundry, meals, and yard work. The work gets shared, which means we have energy for sports, activities, and family outings. There are days when I need a nap on the couch. Being older means I have the experience to live smart, not hard. Story 136. Counterintuitively, be more active during the day. Incorporate some form of exercise, such as a walk during lunch, taking the stairs at the office, or helping passengers with their cargo if you are driving for a ride-sharing service, into your daily routine. It does not work for all jobs, but get creative. Story 137. Whenever my wife asks this, I always say, I don't get a choice. Life happens with or without me, and I have obligations. Story 138. The key to it all is exercise, sleep, nutrition, and water. I take care of that regularly, and it feels great. Then life knocks me down and I forget, feeling bad again until I remember and prioritize. Also, coffee. Story 139. Similar to what others have said, I try to take care of small house chores for 30 minutes or so after I get home before I sit down because once I stop moving, I am done for an hour or two. Also, a short nap between getting home from work and dinner is glorious. 30 to 40 minutes. Story 140. The right job, the right partner, no children, good meat-free food, plenty of exercise through a sport I love, and plenty of sleep. I have more energy now in my early 40s than I had in my 30s. Story 141. Usually, when you are taking care of your family and society keeps increasing your bills to survive, the dread of not eating and being homeless usually motivates you. Story 142. I support my spouse who has mobility issues and have a kindergartner. I have finally hit fatigue in my mid-40s after not really experiencing it before this age. Like many have said, I cannot stop between the time we get home and the time I start cooking dinner. If I do, I struggle. Once I get dinner going, I am good until 10 p.m. when it is time to clean up and close down the house. Story 143. How old are you? For one thing, as much as we like to joke, our 40s feel pretty much the same as our 30s but with more money and experience. For me, I used my 30s to get in shape, so I actually feel much better than I did in my 30s. Story 144. Diet is very important after a certain point. Do not overeat and do not eat too much bread, pasta, sweets, sugar, etc. Do not drink too much alcohol. Go to sleep and wake up at regular times. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.